Flaky, it's crunchy. It's delicious. These are delicious, warm. I love them hot, but I even eat them cold. I think this actually is the first recipe I did for my blog. The puff pastries, it's a lamb puff pastry one. And why I did it, because it is my mum's signature dish. But I changed it. And she wasn't really happy with me because the signature one is made from scratch. You don't use puff pastry, I use puff pastry, but this is her filling, right? And it is really one of the most popular recipes I've had on my blogs. She did roll her eyes at me when I first told her that I'm making it with puff pastry, and then now all my sisters make it with puff pastry. So basically we have only a handful of ingredients. The main part of this dish is actually the filling, which is my mum's filling, but now I've also changed it. I've added something else to it, which I'll share with you soon. All right, so we're just going to, this is so easy to make. We're just gonna saute some diced onions until they're nice and soft. All right, so now we are going to add the mincemeat. So when I cook my mincemeat, I always like to cook the mincemeat at a room temperature. It's so much easier to break it up in the frying pan. If it's cold, it's really hard to break it up. It would just be so chunky. So here, so once our meat is brown, it's cooked, but it's still moist, right? We don't want to dry it, right? So I don't want to overcook it. I don't want it to be moist, to be dry. I want it to be moist. All right, so now what we do is we turn the stove off. Leave your frying pan on the stove, but turn it off, all right? We are going to season with some salt, your meat. This here is Arabian spice. It's so aromatic. It's this 7 spice blend that I make. It's a Middle Eastern spice blend. You can buy it. It is honestly so delicious. Obviously you can't use it for all your food, but in some food. So we're going to put a little bit of that, right? Not too much because it can be a bit overwhelming. Now, Mum puts tahini, whole tahini in here. So we're going to put a bit of tahini. Love this recipe. We are going to put a bit of vinegar. Not too much. This here is a pomegranate molasses all the way from Lebanon, from my auntie. Homemade pomegranate molasses. Can't get better than that. We are going to pour some of that on top. And the new addition to Mum's signature recipe is some fresh yogurt. This idea here is from my cousin. So that's what she does, and that keeps our meat really moist when it goes into the oven, and I think it's a great idea. So we're going to do that, and we're going to give that a mix. And then we are just going to remove those sprigged stalks off of the parsley, and I'm going to chop that parsley over your meat, and we're halfway there. So we have a flat sheet, right, your puff pastry, and so here you just want to kind of cut into squares. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to get about 9 squares, right? If you're like me, you wouldn't be cutting straight. I'm so bad at cutting straight, but you know what? This is home cooking, and we honestly don't care. Well, we do care, but if you have one bigger than the other, we're still gonna eat it. And so we have our squares. And I told you, I didn't say about it. It's a little bit bigger, right? But hey, if you really want, you can measure. So now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab a good 1.5 tablespoons of the meat, and I'm gonna pop that into the middle of every square. And I usually just go around and fill all of them up before I start to close them up. It's just so much easier and quicker. Okay, this is something I like to do is keep a napkin or paper towel on hand, and I'll tell you why. So basically you are going to bring the two pointy ends together and overlap them, just like that. Now if you get a little bit of the meat or the sauce on your hands, just give it a wipe, and that way you avoid getting it on the actual pastry. But again, if you forget, it's still going to be delicious. The pointy ends and overlap them, that's how easy it is, right? Now we're going to pop these on a baking tray, and they are going to go into the oven 20-25 minutes, 180 degrees, and you're done. But you can also freeze this, and this is how you freeze it. Okay, this is how I love to serve my lamb puff pastries, right? These are delicious with some fresh yogurt, and I am just going to sprinkle some dried mint on top of that. You don't have to. Like I'm still eating, I can eat like 10 of these at a time. So it was a straightforward recipe, but if you want the step-by-step with quantities and measurements and details and instructions, it is on my website. Check it out at ribashaheen.com.au, and I'll see you next time. You're taking all these home too, by the way.